Hey there, welcome back to Story Bag. Today, we're diving into Chapter 5 of Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. So, let me ask you a question. Have you ever looked at people who just seem to keep growing their wealth and thought, how are they doing it? Like, how do they find opportunities that others miss? In this chapter, Kiyosaki really opens up a world of possibilities, teaching us how the wealthy don't just wait around for money to come their way, they actually invent it. Intrigued? Let's dig into the big ideas. Main theme and purpose. This chapter is all about how the wealthy take charge of their financial future by being proactive and looking for opportunities that others overlook. Kiyosaki introduces this idea by challenging the usual approach most people have with money. Instead of just earning, saving, or trying to budget their way to wealth, the rich actively create opportunities and develop ways to make their money work for them. Kiyosaki calls this inventing money, and it's about using creativity and financial knowledge to see possibilities where others only see obstacles. Key concepts in simple terms. Let's break down the main ideas of this chapter into simple, straightforward concepts. 1. It's all about financial confidence. Kiyosaki starts by talking about the confidence the wealthy have when it comes to finances. While many of us might think opportunities are limited or that we need to be cautious, the wealthy approach things differently. They see challenges as chances to grow. According to Kiyosaki, this mindset shift, from fearing financial loss to actively seeking financial gain, is a major difference between how the rich and everyone else think. One thing that really stood out to me here was how he emphasizes the role of financial education in building this confidence. The more we know about money and investments, the better we can spot and take advantage of opportunities. And it doesn't mean we all need to be financial experts, just that we should be willing to learn and take small steps. 2. The power of imagination and financial creativity. Have you ever heard someone say, you have to think outside the box? Well, Kiyosaki is a big believer in this when it comes to money. He shares that rich people use their imagination to see things differently. They're able to create value in places where others see none. For instance, maybe they see a property that's been overlooked, or they recognize the potential in a business that others think is too risky. It's this creativity that helps them turn average opportunities into profitable ones. Rich Dad used to tell Kiyosaki that if we can see the world in a different way, money-making chances are everywhere. It's about looking at investments and opportunities not as they are now, but as they could be in the future. This means asking questions like, how can I add value here? Or how can I turn this into an asset? 3. The difference between risk and being reckless. Now, this is a super interesting part of the chapter. Kiyosaki explains that while the rich are willing to take risks, they're not reckless. There's a big difference here. Rich Dad always taught Kiyosaki to take calculated risks. What this means is that, before jumping into an opportunity, they do their homework. They look at the numbers, study the market, and really think about how to minimize their downside. Kiyosaki says that a lot of people confuse taking risks with being foolish, but he learned from Rich Dad that if you know what you're doing, it's actually less risky to invest than to stay out of the game altogether. By investing in our financial education, we're learning to assess risks and make informed decisions that can lead to big rewards. 4. The importance of knowing how to find great deals. Rich Dad's advice on how the rich always seem to find great deals is fascinating. Kiyosaki explains that wealthy people are not waiting for opportunities to just fall into their lap. Instead, they're constantly networking, staying updated, and looking for deals that others might overlook. For example, Rich Dad told him about real estate and how, if you know where to look, there are often undervalued properties or situations where the seller is willing to negotiate. The rich have an eye for spotting undervalued assets and can turn them into something valuable over time. And again, it comes down to experience and knowledge, which is why Kiyosaki emphasizes learning as much as we can about finance and the markets we're interested in. 5. Developing financial genius. One of the coolest ideas in this chapter is the concept of a financial genius. No, it doesn't mean you have to be a math whiz. Kiyosaki says it's really about practicing and developing the financial skills that help you find, assess, and act on opportunities. Rich Dad's approach was to think of financial genius as a skill we can all build, starting small and getting better over time. According to Kiyosaki, it's like exercising a muscle. The more you work at it, the stronger it becomes. We can develop our financial genius by starting small, maybe even with a tiny investment, and then growing our knowledge and confidence as we go. Rich Dad's Lessons on Creating Money. There's a great story Kiyosaki shares in this chapter that really brings this idea to life. Rich Dad would challenge him and his friend Mike to look for ways to make money, even as kids. One time, Rich Dad encouraged them to think about starting a small business that required little upfront money but had the potential to grow. This simple exercise was a game changer. It wasn't just about earning money, but about learning to create opportunities and finding a way to make money on their own. This story shows how Rich Dad was constantly pushing them to think bigger, to move beyond a paycheck mentality and start thinking about how to generate income independently. This idea of inventing money doesn't have to start with a huge business plan. It can be as simple as looking for little ways to turn a profit. Kiyosaki's early investment adventures. Kiyosaki also shares some of his early experiences in investing, like buying small pieces of real estate and working on businesses that required creativity to succeed. He mentions how intimidating it was at first, but how the small risks he took eventually built his confidence. He didn't always make big returns right away, but each experience taught him something valuable and opened the door to bigger opportunities later on. Conclusion with key takeaways. So, what's the main takeaway from Chapter 5? It's that financial success isn't just about hard work, it's about thinking creatively and taking smart, calculated risks. Kiyosaki says that anyone can learn to invent money if they're willing to be open, keep learning, and start looking for ways to create value. It's about moving from a mindset of earning and saving to one of creating and investing. Kiyosaki leaves us with this reminder: opportunities to make money are out there, even if we don't see them right away. The trick is to train ourselves to look at situations differently and think like an investor rather than just a saver. It's not about betting everything on one big break. It's about starting small, building confidence, and gradually making smarter, more strategic financial choices. All right, so what do you think? Are you ready to start thinking outside the box when it comes to your finances? Drop a comment below with your thoughts, or even share an experience where you spotted a small opportunity and turned it into something bigger. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you're enjoying this series. We've got more insights from Rich Dad Poor Dad coming your way, so stay tuned for the next chapter.